Greetings, my fellow free sovereign thinkers. Thank you for tuning to LL3 Podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful realms of planet Earth. Today's date is Wednesday, July 16th, 2025. This is episode 1861. NYC's Mamdani on domestic violence calls, and complacency kills the 2A. Before I proceed, you can follow me on multiple social media sites and podcast channels. Just type in Looky Luck number 3, Looky Luck Roman number 3 with 3 eyes, or the Looky Luck Roman number 3 podcast. Furthermore, if there's any questions, comments, recommendations, and all that good stuff, whatever you do, please use decorum. Hit me via email to ll3.podcast@proton.me. For a donate, go to PayPal.me or cash.app/Looky number 3. Or follow me as Steeman and adding some little crypto love at LL number 3-podcast. Yeah, if you hear in the background, it's raining where I'm at, on and off. Looks like we do have some severe flash flood warnings on the other side of the state. So everyone in the area, just be careful out there, wherever you go. And, of course, the big hoopla about Trump on the Epstein files. People are wigging out all that. But I'm going to make this real simple. The American people, we the people to be exact, has to get out of a bad epidemic. A disease, psychologically speaking, called the Lacanianism. Lacanianism, all right? And the cure is federalism. Think and act locally. What's been going on in the United States for a long period of time, the president became a Lord and Savior. Since they started doing campaigns. I think it's during the Andrew Jackson days. And it's really got very contaminating. When you read the U.S. Constitution, folks, Congress has the most enumerated powers. The president has obligations too. And he's mainly an elected ambassador that's been voted on by the states. Not popular, but by each state. And what we're seeing right now, doesn't matter what side, what political party you're in, they all look for that one person to save us all. Nothing new under the sun. It just really dawns on me, when these people will ever learn. This is why Noah Webster warned about the dangers of factions. It does destroy liberty. Principles, right? Something to really look at. And even apathy has been a problem too. And I would be talking about one particular area, New York City. They're all hyping, of course, the mainstream media is hyping on this fool, I call him, an infidel, Zohran Mamdani, which I believe both of his favorite role models are Infidel Ilhan and General Idi Amin Dada from Uganda, because he is a native Ugandan. Yeah, right? Claim to be Muslim and all that, but I still call him an infidel. And his rhetoric is nothing new under the sun. This came out yesterday for the New American, written by R. Court Kirkwood. It's entitled NYC's Mamdani, Cops Shouldn't Answer Domestic Violence Calls. As it reads here, top moderate Democrats, notably women, have more to worry about New York City socialist mayoral candidate Zohran Mamdani than his openly communist sentiments, such as seizing the means of production, the anti-cop candidate, has said he doesn't think the boys in blue should handle domestic violence calls. Instead, under Mamdani's plan, if the violent husband or boyfriend is beating the daylights out of a wife or girlfriend, Mamdani will presumably send in the head shrinkers. How the skull doctors will handle a 6'3" 230-pound drunk is unclear. Though Mamdani's plan to permit social workers to handle some of not most 911 calls is well known. The latest on the radical candidate, he doesn't believe they should answer domestic violence calls, shows up in a podcast in 2020. And there's a link for that. You can hear it for yourselves from the Washington Free Beacon. And I'll continue on here. Crisis responders. The Washington Free Beacon dissented, Mamdani's remarks on the Immigrantly podcast, an appropriate venue for Mamdani, a Ugandan-born Indian who has been a citizen less than a decade and whose radical Marxist parents have enkindled a burning hatred of Israel in their boy. His comments on domestic violence are a wide-ranging denunciation of the NYPD on the podcast. The website reported, said Mamdani, if somebody is jaywalking, if somebody is surviving, going through domestic violence, there are so many different situations that will be far better handled by people trained to deal with those specific situations as opposed to an individual with a gun. All right, continue on here. How jaywalking compares to a man beating a woman to a pulp is something of a mystery. But anyway, the suggestion that social workers, his platform calls them crisis responders, will respond to mental health calls is a key plank of the community safety section of his platform. Neither Mamdani nor his handlers commented for the Free Beacon. I wonder why. The president of the Big Apple chapter of the National Organization for Women did comment. Domestic violence cases are often the most highly lethality cases where police response is urgently needed, chapter president Sonia Osorio told the website. The idea of removing police protection is outrageous. It's yet another example of his views of policing that are uninformed and dangerous. Dangerous might be an understatement if Mamdani really plans to send crisis responders to handle a murderous beating in progress. 110,000 calls. A 2021 World Journal of Psychiatry study found that intimate partner violence is the leading cause of homicide death for women in the United States and presents a heightened risk for women between ages of 18 and 24, women from racial and ethnic minority groups, and women with mental and physical disabilities, the website noted. In 2024, city cops logged more than 110,000 domestic violence incidents. The website reported, and Pete Panunzio, former homicide detective, thinks not sending cops to answer domestic violence is absolutely insane. Homicide rates will increase. Women will be pulverized, he told the website. Let's face it, 99% of the injuries inflicted are usually by men on women. There will be no defense for at-risk people. I've seen this bad movie before. And of course, there's more stuff here on the Free Beacon on that tweet. Whether Mamdani stands by the comments is unclear, the website reported on X. Islamic teaching, not to be ignored as a possible factor in the absolute insane remarks of Mamdani's religion. Islam teaches that men must admonish and chastise disobedient wives. Men are superior to women on account of the qualities with which God has gifted. The above, one above and the other, and on the outlay they make from their substance of men for them. One English translation, chapter 4, verse 34 in the Quran says, Virtuous women are obedient, careful during the husband's absence, because God has of them been careful. But chide those for whose refractoriness you have cause to fear. Remove them into beds apart and scourge them. But if they are obedient to you, then seek not occasion against them. Of course, myriad YouTube videos feature Muslim clerics giving instructions for wife beating. And I've seen the videos like 2 minutes, 28 seconds long. And it's talking about discipline and abuse. But it's a lot very controversial indeed, but I am not lovey-dovey about it, so I'll be very sincere. This is Sharia law. Ex-user Dr. Maloff wrote over a screenshot of the New York Post headline on his story about Mamdani's comments. Husbands are allowed to beat their wives. Anti-cop Mamdani. Mamdani's views on wife beating aside, his anti-cop platform rightly has sane Democrats worried. He will create a Department of Community Safety that will fill the gaps in city services. Its mission will be to prevent violence before it happens by taking a public health approach to safety, the campaign website says. This was the quote. That requires us to reconcile the fact that violence is highly concentrated in working class neighborhoods in our city. The Department of Community Safety, DCS, will prioritize prevention first, community-based solutions, which have been consistently shown to better improve safety. The new department's focuses will be homelessness, mental health, subway safety, and hate violence. The police department will come under the supervision of the new community safety department. So who the hell's going to be doing that? Some geek, Beakerzoid? I don't know. It's like, bring in the bodies, the overseer them. I never was trying to be a police officer, but I know I'm going to tell you how to do things. We need a system that enables and empowers New Yorkers to request non-NYPD crisis response in both emergencies and non-emergencies. Empowers dispatchers to route calls to these crisis teams, and does not interfere with violent emergencies, fires, etc., receiving a swift and appropriate response, a footnote says. One problem for Mamdani in 2020, the same year he said that the cops shouldn't handle domestic violence and likened the crime to jaywalking, he was very clear about his view of them. We don't need an investigation to know that the NYPD is racist, anti-queer, a major threat to public safety, he fumed on X. What we need to do is hashtag defund the NYPD. No to fake cuts, defund the police. There is a right there that was posted on January 28th, 2020, 9:32 p.m. Well, I want to tell you one thing about this glamour boy, Zoran Mamdani. He is an infidel. Because if you read areas in the Quran talking about homosexuality and queerism, all that, it's been renounced in many places. See, Saudi Arabia, and I had that on my phone on vibrator. Sorry about that. They're not that well respected. So I don't know where a lot of land he's from. Sounds like one of these individuals that got things handed to him, never really paid his dues, and just a rhetorician. And it's funny because I was looking at the enrollment of New York City that was voters registered by county as of February 20th, 2025. And I wrote this down. An active voters list. Okay, these have inactive ones, which is 3,343,648. That's for both registered voters as a whole. But for active voters in the Bronx, you got 509,008. Kings, which is Brooklyn, 1,014,572. New York County, which is Manhattan, 691,185. Queens, 747,055. And Richmond, which is Staten Island, 119,569 active voters. You have a total of 3,081,389 registered voters that are Democrats. I should have said that originally. It says Democrat voters. And according to the Gothamist, it was under 30% in the largest city in New York during the primaries. From the Gothamist, it was released on June 25th, 2025 by Jimmy Belkind. All right, so when you add that all up, the 30%, you know how many people voted or was the Democrats on this election primaries? 924,417. That's an estimate. What the hell are the rest of the 70% who are registered Democrats? They're active voters. They're not around. The whole primary is a joke. And what I read in the Gothamist, it was like a 23% turnout for the races, I think for the city itself. But for the general elections and all that, it goes up. So right there, Laconism has affected New York City. It's a pandemic. Psychologically speaking, it's just one example, my friends. So if you tell me you're from New York City, have higher standards, you got no merit. Hate to break it. There's some awesome people live in those boroughs. I can tell you that. It just really dawns me. Instead of engaging, they want to use apathy. And I hear that from a lot of people. This is downright unacceptable. It has been done to themselves. But here's another funny thing about it. About Zoran. He believes he's above everybody. If he becomes mayor of New York City, he has an oath to protect and defend both U.S. and New York constitutions. To all you folks out there that want things handed to you, and of course, I believe he's anti-firearms and all that too, anti-self-defense. Here's something you can read. I will post this on here too. Article 1, Section 14, which is New York's Bill of Rights. Common law and the acts of the colonial state legislators, but I'll just go under common law here. Such parts of the common law and the acts of the legislature of the colony of New York as together did form the law of the said colony on the 19th day of April, 1775, and the resolutions of Congress of the said colony and of the convention of the state of New York in force on the 20th day of April, 1777, which have not since expired or have been repealed or altered. And such acts of the legislature of the state are now in force and shall be continued the laws in the states. Such alterations the legislature may concern the same, but assault all parts of the common law, and such of the acts or parts thereof or as repugnant to this Constitution are hereby abrogated. So a lot of ideas he wants to use, including this here, is invalid, irrelevant, void, and without force. And I can tell you folks in New York City, even the Empire State, you have natural rights. And I'll just read here from the New York Constitution of 1777. This is from the New York Historical Society, John Jay stuff, John Jay. And it's actually been excerpt from the Declaration of Independence. I'm not going to go too far, but I'll just okay, I'll do it right here. We hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights. To say all men is consent for humanity. That among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall meet most likely to affect their safety and happiness. That's how far I want to go. I will leave a footnote of this on my episode as well. And I'm going to add a link on here too from the z-library.sk, z-library.sk, the 5,000-Year Leap, A Miracle That Changed the World by W. Cleon Skousen. I bought the book a while back at a used bookstore in Fort Lauderdale for $4. I'm like, oh my goodness. You can order it. And I'm going to read you page 125 from this book. And it says here, founders did not list all of the inalienable rights. When the founders adopted the Declaration of Independence, they emphasized in phrases very similar to those of Blackstone that God has endowed all mankind with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Let us identify some of the inalienable or natural rights which the founders knew existed but did not enumerate it in the Declaration of Independence. And of course, you can use the New York Constitution of 1777, okay? The right of self-government, the right to bear arms for self-defense. So remember, folks, the Sullivan Law, all those firearm laws in the Empire State, including New York City, is void and without force. He don't want you to know that, right? But I'll continue on. The right to own, develop, and dispose of property, the right to make personal choices, the right of free conscience, the right to choose a profession, the right to choose a mate, the right to beget one's kind, the right to assemble, the right to petition, the right to free speech, the right to a free press, the right to enjoy the fruits of one's labor, the right to improve one's position through barrier and sale, the right to contrive and invent, the right to explore the natural resources of the earth, the right of privacy, the right to provide personal security, the right to provide nature's necessities, air, food, water, clothing, and shelter, the right to a fair trial, the right of free association, the right to contract. So all his rhetoric, Mamdani, is invalid, illegal, or other words, abrogated. So you got nothing to worry about, my friends. None at all. Because he is nothing but a glamour boy. A flamboyant infidel, to be exact. And all you folks out there want to support him, pretty delusional. And all he wants to do in some of those places can be declared treasonous under the New York Constitution. Best thing to do is look it up. Give all that input on this man. This is one example. But how come other people are not telling you about this, right? That's the question. This is why educate yourselves. Where it doesn't matter where you live. Study everything when it comes to your obligations. Engage rather than be empathetic. Don't whine. Take action. Plant the seed. Now no tree. Decentralize yourselves. It's pretty, I'm not saying it's, we're going to go and saying it's going to be easy, but you got a lot more power than those clowns like him. Don't want you to know. Well, I'll be right back. So stay tuned. All right, I'm back. I'll do one more. This one just came out today from momatarms.com. This one's called Complacency Kills the 2A. Sleeping Giants do not win. Nothing even touches the activity in Virginia right now. A lot of gun owners were sleeping, but now they've woke the sleeping giant. All these gun owners that have been sound asleep have suddenly woke up. VCDL President Philip Van Cleve. Some of us wonder, though, why was the giant asleep in the first place? Complacency is a silent threat to social change, y'all, and Second Amendment activism is falling victim to it. In the fight for justice, equality, and progress, activism has been the engine that drives change. From civil rights movements to climate change, it is the passion, persistence, and pressure of activists that have reshaped societies. But there is a quiet, insidious force that can bring even the most powerful movements to halt: complacency. Are you a complacent activist? Are you? Think about it for a second. Complacency is the sense of satisfaction with the status quo, even when the goals of a movement have not been fully achieved. It often set in after a few victories or when the urgency of a cause seems to fade. Sounds familiar? When this happens, some activists may feel that enough has been done and they can take a break until the next big social issue, or once things have become stagnant because they got a candidate in office that they really like. And that's my NOAA weather alert. Sorry about that, folks. I'm just seeing here. All right, I got my train of thought back. Oh, yeah. Stagnant, so they become comfortable with complacency. Okay, I'll start back here. Or once things have become stagnant because they got a candidate in office that they really like. So the activists will become comfortable in their complacency and figure someone else will come along to carry the torch. This mindset is dangerous because it creates a false sense of completion and weakens the momentum needed to sustain change. We end up falling behind the opposition, looking unorganized and considered old news with repeated talking points. Complacency is dangerous. In the Second Amendment arena, complacency is very dangerous because it halts progress and empowers the opposition. While laws may be passed and attitudes may shift, deeper systemic issues often persist, so activists never get a day off. When activists grow complacent, though, hey, stop pushing for the structural transformations necessary for lasting impact. This lull in momentum creates space for opposition forces to regroup and potentially reverse hard-won gains, as history has shown time and time again. Moreover, complacency can fracture movements from within. When some believe the work is done while others continue to struggle, unity is lost, weakening the collective power essential for intersectional progress. In the Second Amendment world, this happens very often. As soon as we achieve a win, we end up thinking we need to take a day off, which slows our momentum. In a constantly evolving world, new policies, technologies, and social dynamics introduce fresh challenges. A movement that fails to adapt risk becomes irrelevant and ineffective, making complacency not just a pause in action, but a step backward in the fight for justice. How to combat complacency. There's nothing wrong with celebrating the wins we experience in the Second Amendment world, but we need to keep focused on the bigger issue at the same time. While anti-rights groups like Moms Demand Action, Brady, Giffords, and so forth work to eradicate our rights to self-protect, we pro-2A folks need to be constantly thinking one step ahead of them. Continuous education is key. Keep communities informed about ongoing issues, and the work still ahead helps combat apathy and sustain engagement. Bringing in new voices, especially from younger generations, injects fresh energies and ideas that can reignite that passion. Holding each other accountable also plays a vital role, encouraging consistent involvement and solidifying our foundation for the future. We also need to be adaptable. Know This doesn't mean that you have to bend in your politics or faith. You can still stand in your beliefs, but the Second Amendment was never meant to be encompassed one single viewpoint or type of people. We need to understand and educate that all Second Amendment is for all, not just one group of people. And yes, I understand that historically, the provisions in our Constitution were a written bunch of white men during the time, a lot of indifferences and societal expectations. But to counter that, the document was written to transcend time, allowing for opportunities for the reconstruction of society, not our rights. And remember, the person that actually funded the War for Independence was a Jewish man named Haim Solomon. Look him up. Folks, activism is not a sprint. It's a grand marathon. Complacency may like rest, but it is often the beginning of regression. Here in Virginia, our current governor, Glenn Youngkin, vetoed a dozen or so gun control bills during the 2023 and 2024 legislative sessions. Since then, because Virginians have felt safe from imposing any gun control, activism and 2A support has dropped immensely. Here we, in the gubernatorial election year, with one Michael Bloomberg's biggest gun control candidates running for a stay in the governor's mansion, and so far she's winning in the polls. Complacency is dangerous. To secure a better future and to honor those who paved this path for us, we must remain vigilant, engaged, and committed. The anti-rights folks understand this. They're fully involved and just waiting patiently for our giant to fall back to sleep. Get involved, folks. Every day, do one thing to help better our cause. We're not working to restrict individuals of their liberties. We're working to protect them. And she is correct, to be very frank. And just to let you folks know, this is why the states have their own Bill of Rights, a la the Virginia Constitution, right? Yes, it is under Article 1, the Bill of Rights. And I love it because when they try to use these gun control laws and all that, that's all invalid. We can read Section 1, equality and rights of men. That all men are by nature equal and free and independent and have certain inherent rights, of which when they enter to a state of society, they cannot, by any compact, deprive to divest their posterity, namely the enjoyment of life and liberty with the means of acquiring and possessing property and pursuing and obtaining happiness and safety. Yeah, so those little gun control nuts out there, those totalitarian activists, yeah, mock them, ridicule them, just laugh at them. Go, do you trust the government? And see how they answer, right? So I'm gonna hit the next one here. And let me see. Laws, not that at all. Yeah. We could do a couple here. Let me see here. Do a couple here. Due process, of course. I got one on due process. Damaging of private property and all that. That no person shall be deprived of his life or liberty or property without due process of law. That's Section 11. And we could even hit Section 13, right? Section 13. Relegate militia, composed of a body of people trained to arms, is proper and natural to the state's defense of free state. Therefore, the right of people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. That's Section 13. There's other things on here, too, about standing armies. So you can throw that at them. And we could hit the construction of the Bill of Rights. This rights enumerated in this Bill of Rights should not be construed to limit other rights of the people not therein expressed. So you can say how the Ninth Amendment started too with this. So very similar, natural rights, plain and simple. And remember, Jefferson said it best: eternal vigilance is the key to liberty. And what's interesting, great about this whole thing about complacency, even the reference to the Second Amendment. But you got to look at everything else. because natural rights as a whole, including in New York City. So, see, it's relevant. They all go hand in hand, correct? But we could definitely execute those. And don't forget the Virginia Resolution of 1798, which is relevant to gun rights in the state of Virginia. I would definitely put that in here because it's a form of nullification. There's a summary on that. It's from the constitutioncenter.org. And so you can read the full document yourself. And actually, I did a show on this way back. And it was very cool. So it's always good to know these things, folks. Nullification is a rightful remedy. Thomas Jefferson. Yes, to my fellow Virginians out there, and to all 50 states, be engaged. Don't be complacent. Don't exercise apathy. Action speaks louder than words. We all have obligations to put our governments in check, whether it's federal, state, or local. I renounce draconianism or nationalism. I like federalism. I don't care what the Marxist hacks has to say. They don't count, as far as I'm concerned, because when government knows best, it turns to manure. Well, that is it. I thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share throughout your social media networks. If you have any questions, comments, recommendations, all that good stuff, whatever you do, please use the quorum. You can hit me via email to ll3.podcast@proton.me. Plus, I'll leave all the footnotes on this episode on my page so you can check it out. If you want to donate, go to PayPal.me or cash.app/local3. Hit me and follow me on Steemit. A little crypto love at LL3-podcast. If you want to support the New American, Moms at Arms, that'd be great. And always observe responsibly. Once again, thank you for your time. Plus, always remember that the demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading the love. And may your guardian spirits be with you.